I never thought I'd be that guy, the one telling a story like this. You always think cheating is something that happens to other people. You see it in movies, hear horror stories from friends, maybe even joke about it at work. But when it happens to you, it feels like the ground gets ripped out from under you. I'd been with my wife, Amanda, for 9 years, married for 5. We were that couple everyone envied. You know the type. Inside jokes, matching Halloween costumes, relationship goals, according to her Instagram comments. If you'd asked me 6 months ago if she'd ever cheat on me, I would have laughed in your face. Looking back, the signs were all there. Blinking, neon, screaming at me. But I was too busy being a trusting husband to see them. Started small. Amanda was always protective of her phone, but lately it was like an extension of her hand. Bathroom? Phone. Shower? Phone propped up on the sink. Sleeping? Phone under her pillow. I joke, "Who are you texting at 2 a.m.? The president?" And she'd roll her eyes, saying I was being so insecure lately. Then came the fights. Or more like, the fights she picked for no reason. One night, she got mad because I apparently breathed too loudly while we were watching a movie. She grabbed her keys and stormed out, saying she needed some air. She was gone for 3 hours. 3 hours. When I asked where she went, she sighed dramatically and said she just sat in a parking lot, thinking. Then there was the sudden obsession with the gym. She always took care of herself, but now, up at 5 a.m. to run, even though she hated running. And the lingerie. She started buying all these lacy little things I never saw her wear for me. When I joked about it, she snapped, "A woman can feel sexy for herself, you know?" But the final straw? The smell. Amanda always smelled like vanilla and coconut, her signature perfume. But one night, she came home late, and I caught a whiff of something different. Cologne. And not mine. I remember that moment so clearly. I asked, "Whose cologne is that?" She blinked, then laughed. Actually laughed. "Oh my God. Are you serious? I hugged a coworker today. Maybe that's it. Except Amanda works from home." I didn't push it. Not yet. Because in that moment I knew. I knew something was wrong. But I wasn't ready to admit it. So I decided to find out for myself. After that cologne incident, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. It was like a splinter in my brain. I knew something was wrong, but I couldn't prove it. And if I accused her without evidence, she'd just twist it around and make me feel crazy. So I decided to be smart about it. The next night, Amanda had another one of her "I just need some air" moments after I apparently loaded the dishwasher wrong. For the record, I had been loading it the same way for 5 years. But suddenly it was an issue. She grabbed her keys and stormed out, leaving me alone in the house. Instead of sitting there like an idiot, I did something I never thought I'd do. I grabbed her old iPad from the nightstand. It was linked to her iCloud, and I knew she barely used it anymore. My hands were actually shaking as I unlocked it. It felt wrong, like I was crossing some line. But then I reminded myself, if she wasn't hiding anything, I'd find nothing, and I'd apologize to myself for being paranoid. Yeah. I wish that were the case. First, I scrolled through her emails. Nothing weird. Work stuff, spam, the usual. Then I checked her texts. Most of them were normal conversations with friends. But then I saw one contact with no name. Just an emoji. Wine glass. My stomach dropped. I opened the messages, and there it was. Flirty texts. Inside jokes I'd never heard before. A message from 2 days ago. Him. I can't stop thinking about last night. Her. Me neither winking face when "Can I see you again?" I felt like I was gonna throw up. My vision blurred as I scrolled up. My heart pounding so loud I could hear it in my ears. There were weeks of messages. Months. Late-night texts, suggestive comments, even memes about keeping secrets. She had been sneaking around behind my back for months, and I had been too blind to see it. But the worst part? The part that almost made me smash the iPad against the wall? Picture. She had sent him a mirror selfie, the kind of picture she used to send me when we first started dating. She was wearing one of those lacy lingerie sets, standing in our bathroom. Our bathroom. In our house. I forced myself to keep scrolling. I needed to know who this guy was. And then I found it. A name. A single text where he slipped up. Him. I'll be late tonight. Michelle keeps asking where I am. I told her I was working late. Michelle. His wife. Holy crap. Amanda wasn't just cheating. She was having an affair with a married man. At that moment, everything changed. This wasn't just my wife lying to me. This was two people betraying their spouses, sneaking around like it was some game. I closed the iPad, my mind racing. I had all the proof I needed. Now I just had to decide what to do with it. I sat there for a long time, just staring at the iPad. My wife had been sneaking around with some married guy for months. And not just once. Not some drunken mistake. This was planned. Regular. I wanted to lose it. I wanted to call her right then and there and lay into her with everything I had. But I didn't, because I knew Amanda. She was a master manipulator. If I confronted her now, she'd twist it, turn it back on me, make me feel like I was the one in the wrong. I could already hear her voice in my head. Why were you looking through my iPad? Don't you trust me? Blah, blah, blah. No, I wasn't going to give her that chance. I was going to catch her red-handed. I spent the rest of the night planning. I needed to know when she was seeing this guy. I went back through their texts and found a pattern: Tuesdays and Fridays. Those were her self-care nights when she'd say she was going for a long drive, hitting the gym, or meeting up with a girlfriend for drinks. The next day, I played it cool. If she suspected I was onto her, she'd change her routine. So I acted like nothing was wrong. I kissed her goodbye in the morning, texted her casually throughout the day, even asked what she wanted for dinner like I wasn't plotting her downfall. Then, right on schedule, she fed me her usual lie. Amanda. Babe. I'm gonna grab drinks with Lisa tonight. Don't wait up. Okay? Lisa. Huh? Funny. Because Lisa had just posted on Facebook about being out of town with her husband. Of course, babe, I replied, gritting my teeth. Have fun. As soon as she left the house that night, I grabbed my keys and followed. I gave her a few minutes head start, then tailed her across town. Lucky for me, Amanda was too busy texting to notice. She drove to a hotel. Not a bar. Not a restaurant. A hotel. She parked, got out, and walked in like it was completely normal. No hesitation. No checking over her shoulder. Just casual, like this was something she did all the time. I waited. 5 minutes passed. Then 10. And then I saw him. A guy in a suit walked into the hotel lobby. His tie loosened, hair a little messy. He was older than me, maybe late 30s, early 40s. A little overweight but not bad looking. And I immediately knew it was him. How? Because as soon as he walked in, Amanda texted him. Room 214. Doors open, winking face. I clenched my jaw so hard it hurt. I had all the proof I needed. I could have stormed in right then and there, made a scene, blown it all up. But I wanted more. So I pulled out my phone and took pictures. Amanda walking into the hotel. The guy arriving minutes later. And then I did something I never thought I'd do. I found Michelle. It wasn't even that hard. A little social media digging and I had Mark's full name. From there, one LinkedIn search, a Facebook profile, and boom, there she was. Michelle Thompson. Stay-at-home mom. 2 kids. Married for over 10 years. She had no idea her husband was sneaking off to a hotel with my wife. Just like I had no idea. I stared at her profile for a long time, debating. Should I tell her? Should I just deal with Amanda first? But the more I thought about it, the more I knew Michelle deserved to know. So I sent her a message. Hey Michelle, you don't know me, but I think we need to talk. It's about your husband, Mark. I have some things you need to see. I attached the screenshots, the hotel photos. Then I waited. It only took 20 minutes. My phone buzzed. Michelle, who are you? What is this? I could feel the panic in her words. She probably thought I was some scammer or a crazy person, so I kept it short. I'm Amanda's husband. Your husband has been sleeping with my wife. I have proof. The typing bubble popped up, then disappeared, then popped up again, then nothing. I waited, staring at the screen, my heart pounding. 5 minutes later, my phone rang. I took a deep breath and answered. Hello. There was silence on the other end. Then, a shaky voice. How do you know? I told her everything. Every sneaky late-night excuse. Every suspicious gym trip. Every fake girl's night out. I told her about the texts, the hotel meetup, the receipts, everything. Michelle didn't say a word the whole time. Just listened. And when I was done, there was this long, heavy silence before she finally spoke. I knew something was wrong, she whispered. He's been so distant. He's been coming home late, saying work is crazy. But I never thought. Her voice broke, and I heard her sniffle. I felt bad for her. I really did. I mean, I was drowning in my own pain, but at least I knew what was going on. She was just finding out, and it was wrecking her. I'm so sorry, I said, and I meant it. She took a deep breath. No, thank you for telling me. I need to process this, but I want to help. I want to take them down. That caught me off guard. Take them down. I mean, we can't just let them get away with this, right? She said, her voice shaking but firm. They've been lying to us for months. They think they're so clever. Let's show them they're not. I hadn't expected Michelle to go full revenge mode. But honestly, I was on board. What are you thinking? I asked. A pause. Then, I think we should set them up. I sat there, gripping my phone, letting Michelle's words sink in. Set them up. I wasn't sure if it was the anger, the betrayal, or just the sheer insanity of the situation. But the idea felt right. Amanda and Mark had been sneaking around, lying to our faces, acting like they were so damn clever. They deserved to get caught in their own web of lies. What do you have in mind? I asked. Michelle took a deep breath. Mark thinks I'm clueless. If I act normal, he won't suspect anything. I can tell him I'm going out of town for the weekend, visiting my sister or something. He'll probably use that as an opportunity to meet up with Amanda. If we can find out where, we can catch them in the act. A setup, a trap, a guaranteed way to blow up their little fantasy world. I was all in. For the next few days, I played my part. I kissed Amanda goodbye in the mornings. I listened to her fake stories about long work meetings and spa days while holding back every ounce of rage in my body. Meanwhile, Michelle worked her side of the plan. She told Mark she'd be leaving town that Friday and even made a fake Instagram post about spending the weekend with her sister. He took the bait immediately. That night, he texted Amanda. Mark, wife's out of town. Want to have some fun? Amanda, you know I do. My place or yours? I felt sick just reading it. My wife, the woman I built a life with, was acting like a giggling teenager sneaking around behind the bleachers. Mark suggested a hotel again. Same one as last time. Room 318. Friday night. We had them. On Friday, Amanda got ready like she was going on a date. She spent an hour in the bathroom curling her hair, did her makeup, even put on the perfume she hadn't worn around me in months. Then, right on cue, she fed me her usual lie. Babe, I'm gonna have dinner with Lisa again. She's going through some stuff, and I want to be there for her. I nodded, keeping my face blank. That's sweet of you. She smiled, kissed me on the cheek, and walked out the door without a second thought. As soon as she was gone, I grabbed my keys and met up with Michelle. We parked down the street from the hotel, out of sight, and waited. It didn't take long. Amanda arrived first, parking like she'd done this 100 times before. She strolled into the hotel without hesitation. 10 minutes later, Mark pulled up. He checked his phone, probably reading a text from Amanda, then headed inside. This was it. Michelle and I walked into the lobby. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears, but I kept my face calm. Michelle, on the other hand, looked ready for war. We walked right up to the front desk. The receptionist barely looked up. Checking in. Michelle smiled sweetly. Actually, we're surprising our spouses. My husband's in room 318. I think he'll be very excited to see us. The woman's eyes widened slightly. She knew. Oh, she knew. But she just nodded and gestured toward the elevator. I swallowed hard as we stepped inside. Michelle hit the button for the third floor, and the doors slid shut. This was it. We were seconds away from shattering their little fantasy world. No more lies. No more sneaking around. We were about to blow up their entire lives. The elevator ride felt like an eternity. Neither of us spoke. Michelle was gripping her phone so tightly her knuckles had gone white, and I was just trying to keep my breathing steady. My heart was slamming against my ribs, my hands shaking from the sheer adrenaline coursing through me. Ding. Third floor. We stepped out into the hallway. Room 318 was just a few doors down. We walked toward it, side by side, like two soldiers marching into battle. Michelle turned to me. Ready? I nodded. She lifted her fist and pounded on the door. First, nothing. Then, the faint sound of scrambling, like someone moving quickly. A muffled voice. Then silence. She knocked again, harder. Mark! Open the damn door! More scrambling. A hushed whisper. Then, finally, footsteps approaching. The door cracked open just an inch and Mark's face appeared. Half-dressed, hair a mess, looking guilty as hell. His eyes flickered between me and Michelle, his brain clearly short-circuiting. What are you doing here? Michelle let out a bitter laugh. Oh, I don't know. Maybe because my husband is in a hotel room with another woman. Amanda's voice came from inside the room. Mark, who is? And then she saw us. She was standing there, wrapped in a hotel robe, her makeup still fresh, her hair curled just so. She froze, her face draining of color, and for the first time in our entire relationship, she looked completely speechless. I stepped forward, shoving the door open all the way. Hey babe, having fun? Her mouth opened and closed like a fish, her brain scrambling for an excuse, a lie, anything. Mark finally found his voice. This isn't what it looks like. I laughed. I actually laughed. Oh really? Because it looks exactly like my wife and your wife's husband about to hook up in a cheap hotel room. Amanda snapped out of her shock, her voice turning sharp. Why are you even here? Were you following me? Oh my God. This is so controlling. Michelle cut her off. Oh, shut up, Amanda. You're standing half naked in a hotel room with my husband, and you want to talk about control. Amanda's face twisted into something ugly, something defensive. Maybe if you weren't so clingy, Mark wouldn't. Michelle lunged at her. I had to grab her arm to stop her from throwing the punch I knew she wanted to land. Not worth it, I muttered. She's not worth it. Amanda's eyes snapped to me. You're really going to believe her over me? I pulled out my phone, opened her messages, scrolled straight to the screenshots I had saved. I already know, Amanda. You don't get to lie your way out of this one. She glanced at my screen, and for the briefest second, I saw real panic in her eyes. But then, just like that, she switched tactics. Her voice softened. Her lips trembled. Babe, please, I messed up, but we can fix this. You and me. We're married. I shook my head. Not anymore. Amanda gasped. You don't mean that. Michelle stepped in, her voice ice cold. Oh, he does. And guess what? So do I. Mark swallowed hard. Michelle, please. She turned on him so fast he actually flinched. Shut up, Mark. You're going to be hearing from my lawyer. I turned to Amanda, taking in every last detail of her face. This woman, the one I had loved, trusted, built a life with, was nothing but a liar, a cheater, a selfish, manipulative fraud. I let out a slow breath. You can keep the hotel room. You're gonna need it. Then, without another word, I turned and walked away. Michelle followed. Neither of us looked back. The walk back to the elevator was silent. My hands were still shaking, but the rage that had been boiling inside me for days was finally settling into something colder, something final. Michelle and I stepped into the elevator, and as soon as the doors shut, she let out a shaky breath and leaned against the wall. I could see her hands trembling as she ran them through her hair. Holy crap, she whispered. Yeah. She let out a half-laugh, half-sob. I can't believe we actually did that. I just nodded, staring at the metal doors. My mind was buzzing, but there was one overwhelming feeling cutting through all of it: relief. The worst part was over. The lies, the gaslighting, the suspicions. All of it was done. Ding. The doors slid open, and we walked through the lobby, side by side, both of us too drained to speak. I don't know what I expected to feel. Maybe some dramatic sense of closure, but really, all I felt was tired. When we got outside, Michelle stopped and turned to me. So what now? I thought about it for a second. Now? I go home, pack my stuff, call a lawyer. She nodded, her jaw tightening. Yeah, same. We stood there for a moment, just two strangers bound together by mutual betrayal. Then, without thinking, I reached out and gave her a hug. Not romantic, not weird. Just a hug between two people who had just had their worlds shattered. She hugged me back. Thank you, she murmured, for telling me, for everything. I pulled back and gave her a small smile. You too. Then we went our separate ways. The drive home was surreal. I expected to feel devastated, maybe even start crying. But all I felt was this strange, eerie calm, like my brain had finally accepted what had happened. There was no more doubt, no more wondering. Amanda was a liar, a cheater, and I was done. When I got home, I didn't even hesitate. I grabbed a suitcase from the closet and started throwing my stuff into it. Clothes, toiletries, the essentials. I wasn't about to give Amanda the satisfaction of me waiting around for her. I was zipping up the bag when I heard the front door open. I turned, and there she was. Amanda walked in, looking disheveled, like she had been crying, but also like she had rushed back the moment she realized I was serious. She saw the suitcase and froze. "You're leaving?" she asked, her voice small. I didn't even look at her. "Yeah." She stepped closer. "Babe, please. We need to talk about this." I laughed. Actually laughed. "Talk? Now you want to talk?" She swallowed. "I messed up. I know I did. But you can't just throw away everything we've built together over one mistake." "One mistake?" I turned to her, my voice sharp. "Amanda, you didn't slip and fall onto another guy. You lied to me. For months. You planned this. You snuck around. That's not a mistake. That's a choice." Tears welled up in her eyes. "I still love you." I just shook my head. "No, you don't. You love having me around. You love what I do for you. But you don't love me." She reached for my arm, but I stepped back. "Please, I'll do anything. Therapy, counseling. We can fix this." I stared at her. This woman I had once thought was my partner, my best friend. And I felt nothing. "No, Amanda. You broke this. And I'm not fixing it." I grabbed my bag and walked to the door. As I stepped outside, she called out one last time, her voice desperate. "Where are you going?" I didn't even turn around. "Away from you." And with that, I shut the door behind me. I didn't have a plan. I just drove. No destination, no real thought. Just me, my car, and the hum of the road under my tires. The adrenaline was finally wearing off. And in its place, this strange emptiness settled in. It wasn't sadness, not exactly. More like the feeling you get when you wake up from a bad dream and, for a second, you're not sure if it was real or not. But this was real. Amanda was a cheater. Our marriage was over. My entire life, the one I thought I had, was gone. I pulled into an empty parking lot outside a gas station and just sat there, staring at the steering wheel, letting it all sink in. Then my phone buzzed. I already knew who it was before I looked. "Amanda, please come home. We need to talk." I let out a dry laugh. Talk? Now she wants to talk? Where was all this energy when she was sneaking around behind my back? When she was lying to my face, climbing into our bed after being with another man? My phone buzzed again. "Amanda, I know you're hurt, but please, don't just throw everything away like this. We can fix this." There it was again. Like I had done something to break us. Like this wasn't entirely on her. I put my phone down. I wasn't going to argue. I wasn't going to fight. I was done. After sitting there for a while, I realized I had nowhere to go. My parents lived 3 states away. My best friend, Josh, had a tiny apartment with his girlfriend. A hotel felt too depressing. Then, before I even fully registered what I was doing, I pulled up Michelle's number. We hadn't talked since the hotel, but something in me knew. She got it. She understood this in a way no one else could. I hesitated for a second, then sent a text. "Hey." I left, not sure where to go. Just needed to get out of there. I didn't expect her to respond right away, but she did. "Michelle, Come over. I made coffee. I stared at the screen. Then, without thinking, I put the car in drive and headed to her place. By the time I got to Michelle's place, it was almost midnight. Her house was quiet, the porch light glowing softly. When she opened the door, she looked different. Not in a dramatic way, just tired, drained, like me. She stepped aside, letting me in. Long night. I huffed a small laugh. Something like that. She led me to the kitchen where 2 mugs of coffee sat on the counter. I figured neither of us was getting much sleep anyway, she said, sliding one toward me. I took it, the warmth grounding me a little. Thanks. She sat down across from me, studying me for a moment. So, you really left? I nodded. Yeah, I did. She let out a breath. Good. We sat in silence for a while, just sipping coffee. No forced conversation, no awkwardness. Just 2 people who had been blindsided by the same wreckage, sitting in the aftermath. Eventually, Michelle broke the silence. You know what's funny? I raised an eyebrow. What? She smirked, shaking her head. I don't even feel sad. I let out a dry laugh. Same. And that was the truth. I had spent so much time questioning myself, wondering if I was imagining things, doubting my own instincts because Amanda was so good at making me feel like I was the crazy one. But now, it was over. No more guessing, no more hoping things would go back to how they used to be. The truth was out, and I didn't have to wonder anymore. I think we checked out a long time ago, she said, swirling her coffee. We just didn't want to admit it. She wasn't wrong. Looking back, Amanda and I hadn't really been in love for a long time. We had been going through the motions, playing our roles, pretending everything was fine. Maybe that's why she cheated. Maybe that's why I hadn't caught it sooner. The connection between us had already been fraying. Not that it excused anything. She still made her choices. Michelle let out a sigh and leaned forward, resting her arms on the table. So what now? I shook my head. No clue. I guess I find a lawyer. File for divorce. Figure out where I'm gonna live. She nodded. Yeah, same. Another pause. Then she smirked. At least we get to ruin their lives first. I chuckled. Yeah, that part was fun. She tilted her head, watching me for a moment. You know, if you need a place to crash for a few days, you can stay here. I blinked. Seriously? Yeah. I mean, my guest room isn't fancy or anything, but it beats a hotel. And honestly, she let out a tired sigh. It'd be nice to have some company. The house feels weird now. Empty. I hesitated. Not because I didn't want to stay, I really didn't want to go back to an empty hotel room, but because I didn't want to cross any weird boundaries. She seemed to read my mind because she laughed. Relax. I'm not trying to seduce you or anything. I just think we could both use a friend right now. I thought about it for a second, then nodded. Yeah, that sounds good. And just like that, I had a place to stay. We spent the rest of the night talking. Not about Amanda and Mark. Not about the cheating, the lies, or the heartbreak. Just talking. About work, about stupid things we had seen online, about life. And for the first time in what felt like forever, I felt normal. By the time I finally went to bed in Michelle's guest room, I realized something. Amanda had broken my heart. But she hadn't broken me. And no matter what happened next, I was going to be okay. I woke up the next morning feeling lighter than I had in weeks. For the first time in a long time, there was no weight on my chest. No paranoia. No nagging feeling in the back of my head that something was off. Because now I knew the truth. The worst had already happened. I got out of bed, stretched, and walked into the kitchen, where Michelle was already making coffee. She looked up and smirked. You snore, by the way. I chuckled. Yeah. Amanda used to complain about that too. The second her name left my mouth, the air shifted. Not in a bad way, just in a yeah, that's still a thing way. Michelle poured me a cup of coffee and slid it across the counter. Any texts from her? I checked my phone. 17 missed calls. 11 texts. All from Amanda. Please answer. We need to talk. I know you're mad, but can we just talk like adults? This is so unfair. You won't even let me explain. The last one made me laugh. Michelle raised an eyebrow. What? I turned my phone so she could see. Amanda, I don't even know why you're so upset. You act like I killed someone. Michelle snorted. Oh yeah. Sorry, you just destroyed our entire marriage. But sure. Totally overreacting. I shook my head. I'm not answering her. Nothing she says will change anything. Good. Michelle sipped her coffee. Mark texted me last night too. I raised an eyebrow. Let me guess. He's so sorry and it was a mistake and he never meant to hurt you? She rolled her eyes. Bingo. He even tried calling, but I blocked his number. He can talk to my lawyer. I grinned. I like your style. She tapped her mug against mine. You're not so bad yourself. We sat in silence for a while, just enjoying our coffee. Eventually, she sighed. You know, I thought I'd be more upset. I thought I'd be crying my eyes out, eating ice cream straight from the tub, questioning every moment of our relationship. But mostly, she exhaled, shaking her head. I just feel free. I nodded. Yeah, me too. And I meant it. I had spent so long trying in a marriage that Amanda had already checked out of. Spent months twisting myself into knots, doubting my own instincts, while she was sneaking around behind my back. And now, I didn't have to anymore. I was done. I was free. Michelle smirked. So, what's next for you? I thought about it. For the first time in a long time, I had no real plan. No expectations. Just a blank slate. I grinned. Honestly? No idea. She held up her mug. To no idea. I clinked my mug against hers. To no idea. And for the first time in a long time, I felt excited about the future. The next few days were a blur. I called a lawyer, found a short-term rental, started getting my affairs in order. Every day, Amanda bombarded me with texts, some begging, some angry, some just flat-out delusional. You're really going to throw away everything over this? I was going through a hard time. You should have been there for me. You're making a huge mistake. A mistake? No, Amanda. The mistake was thinking I'd ever take you back. Michelle and I kept in touch. At first, it was just check-ins, but it turned into something more. We'd grab drinks after work, send each other stupid memes, vent about our soon-to-be exes. It wasn't romantic, it was just easy. She got it. One night, we were sitting on her porch, watching the sky fade into dusk, beers in hand. She took a sip and said, "You ever think about what comes next?" I shrugged. Not really. Just taking it one day at a time. She nodded. Same. A comfortable silence passed. Then she smirked. You think Mark and Amanda are still seeing each other? I snorted. Oh, definitely not. People like them. They don't do commitment. They just cheat, ruin lives, and move on to the next thing. She laughed. Well, I hope they both end up with someone just like them. I grinned. Poetic justice. We clinked our bottles together, and for the first time in a long time, I realized something. I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't heartbroken. I wasn't bitter. I was just done. And that felt better than revenge ever could. Life moved on. The divorce process was surprisingly smooth. Not because Amanda made it easy, but because I didn't give her the chance to drag it out. I had a good lawyer, I had my evidence, and I made it clear I wasn't here to negotiate. She tried, though. Oh, she tried. She sent one last email, probably thinking she could manipulate me now that the dust had settled. I know we can never go back to the way things were, but can we at least be friends? Friends? With the woman who gaslit me for months? Lied straight to my face? Climbed into my bed after screwing someone else and pretended everything was fine? Yeah, that was going to be a hard no. I didn't respond. Just forwarded it to my lawyer and told him to keep things moving. Meanwhile, Michelle was thriving. She had gone full scorched earth on Mark, taking him for everything she could. She wasn't petty about it, just efficient. She had given him a decade of her life, and she wasn't walking away empty-handed. We kept hanging out. At first, it was just two people who had been through the same nightmare, but then something shifted. One night, we went out for drinks, and she laughed at something I said, like, really laughed. And I realized I hadn't seen her that happy before. Or maybe I had just been too caught up in my own mess to notice. Either way, I liked it. One thing led to another and, well, yeah, it wasn't rushed. It wasn't messy. It wasn't like Amanda and Mark sneaking around in hotels. It was real. And for the first time in forever, I was actually happy. One night, months later, Michelle and I were sitting on her couch, watching some terrible reality show, when my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I frowned and opened the text. Hey, this is Mark. I figured you'd want to know. Amanda's engaged. I blinked at the screen. Michelle glanced over. What? I turned my phone so she could see. She read the text and rolled her eyes. Wow, that woman moves fast. I chuckled. Probably already cheating on the poor guy. She snorted. You gonna respond? I looked at the message again. Then I deleted it. Nah, don't care. And the best part? I really didn't. Months passed, and for the first time in years my life was normal. Peaceful. I had my own place. A job I actually enjoyed. A woman next to me who didn't lie to my face every damn day. I didn't wake up dreading the next excuse, the next late-night girls' night, the next pointless fight Amanda would start just to have an excuse to leave the house. I was free. And then, out of nowhere, Amanda came back. It was a Saturday afternoon. Michelle and I were grabbing lunch at this little sandwich shop downtown when my phone started buzzing like crazy. Unknown number. I ignored it. Then a text popped up. Please answer. It's important. I sighed, already annoyed. I swear. If this is another scam call. Michelle glanced up from her drink. Answer it. Could be something good. I rolled my eyes but picked up. Hello. There was silence on the other end. Then, a hesitant voice. Hey. I froze. It was Amanda. Of course it was. I pulled the phone away from my ear and stared at the screen like it had personally betrayed me. Then I put it back. What do you want? She sighed. I know I'm probably the last person you want to hear from, but I really need to talk to you. Michelle raised an eyebrow. Is that? I nodded, putting the phone on speaker. Amanda hesitated. I saw your name pop up on my People You May Know thing on Facebook, and I guess I don't know. I wanted to reach out. I leaned back in my chair. Aha. And this definitely has nothing to do with Mark texting me months ago about your new fiancé. Right? Silence. Then quietly, we broke up. Michelle let out a low whistle and took a sip of her drink. I smirked. Oh no. What happened? Did he cheat on you? Amanda scoffed. That's not funny. I shrugged. I think it's hilarious. She exhaled sharply. Look, I know I messed up. I know I hurt you. And I don't expect you to forgive me. But I don't know. I've been thinking about you a lot lately. Michelle made a gagging motion. I bit back a laugh. Yeah? What do you want me to do with that information? Amanda hesitated. I guess I just wanted to see if we could talk. Maybe get coffee or something. I didn't even hesitate. No, Amanda. We don't need to talk. We don't need to catch up. You made your choices. You burned it all down. And now you're realizing the grass wasn't greener, and you want to peek over the fence again. Not happening. That's not fair, she whispered. I laughed. Fair? Fair? Amanda, you spent months lying to me, sleeping with multiple guys. And now that you're alone, you suddenly miss me? Silence. Then her voice wavered. I just don't want you to hate me. I sighed, shaking my head. I don't hate you, Amanda. Her breath hitched like she was about to cry. Then I smiled. I just don't care about you anymore. And with that, I ended the call. Michelle grinned, raising her glass. To not giving a single crap. I clinked my drink against hers. To moving the hell on. And damn, it had never felt better. A week later, I got another text. It was from Amanda. I almost deleted it without reading, but curiosity got the better of me. I'm sorry for calling you. I shouldn't have. I don't know. I guess I miss you. And I regret everything. I laughed out loud. Michelle, sitting next to me on the couch, glanced over. Let me guess. Amanda? I nodded and read the message aloud. Michelle rolled her eyes. Classic. She doesn't miss you. She misses the version of you that let her get away with crap. She was right. Amanda didn't regret losing me. She regretted losing the security, the comfort of having someone who actually gave a damn. And now that she had burned every bridge, she was looking back at the only one she hadn't completely torched. Too bad for her. I had rebuilt my life without her. I tossed my phone aside. She's not my problem anymore. Michelle grinned. Nope. And she wasn't. Life moved forward. The divorce was finalized. I moved into a new place, a real home, one that wasn't haunted by memories of Amanda's lies. And Michelle? Well, what started as an unexpected friendship turned into something neither of us saw coming. It wasn't rushed. It wasn't messy. It wasn't built on revenge or shared pain. It was real. One night, as we sat on my new balcony, watching the city lights flicker in the distance, she nudged me with her foot. Do you ever think about what would have happened if we hadn't caught them? I exhaled, shaking my head. I don't even want to imagine it. She smirked. Think Amanda's still out there looking for her next victim? I chuckled. Probably. But hey, not my circus, not my monkeys. Michelle laughed. To dodging disasters. I raised my glass. To getting it right this time. And for the first time in my life I knew I had. Months passed, and Amanda became nothing more than a distant memory. I didn't check her social media, didn't wonder what she was doing, didn't care who she was with. She was just gone from my life, and that was exactly how I wanted it. Michelle and I kept growing, but it wasn't some fairy tale romance. It was real. No games, no drama, no walking on eggshells. Just two people who had been burned, who had picked up the pieces, and who had found something solid in each other. One night, we were out at a bar, celebrating Michelle's promotion. She had been working her ass off for months, and she finally got the recognition she deserved. We clinked glasses, laughing, already a couple of drinks in, when Michelle's face suddenly changed. Her eyes flicked over my shoulder. Oh, my God. She grabbed my arm. Do not turn around. Which, of course, made me turn around immediately. And there she was, Amanda. She was sitting alone at the bar, staring into a drink like the world had kicked her in the teeth. Her hair was a mess. Her clothes were trying to look expensive but gave off that desperate, I need people to think I'm doing fine energy. She looked lost. And then, as if sensing my gaze, she looked up. Our eyes met. For a split second, I saw the shock on her face, the realization that I was here, that I had seen her like this. Then, even worse, her eyes flicked to Michelle. She put it together. I expected a dramatic reaction. Maybe she'd storm over, demand answers, try to make a scene. But instead, she looked down at her drink. And then, just like that, she turned away. She didn't say anything, didn't try to come over. She just stared at the bar, shoulders slumped, completely alone. I turned back to Michelle, who was watching me carefully. You good? I smiled. Yeah, I really am. She grinned. Good. Because you better not let that ruin our night. I laughed. Not a chance. And then, we went back to celebrating. Because Amanda was just someone I used to know. A few months later, I proposed to Michelle. It wasn't some over-the-top, Instagram-worthy thing. No flash mobs, no extravagant setups. Just the two of us at home, cooking dinner, laughing about something stupid. And in the middle of it all, I realized I didn't want another day of my life without her in it. So I grabbed the ring I had been carrying around for weeks, got down on one knee and said, "Marry me?" She stared at me wide-eyed, then burst out laughing. Are you seriously proposing to me while holding a spatula? I looked down. I was still holding the spatula. I shrugged. Yeah, I guess I am. She grinned, set her glass of wine down, and kissed me. Yes, you idiot. Of course. And that was it. No drama. No unnecessary nonsense. Just us. The wedding was small, just close friends and family. No stress, no distractions. Just the people who actually mattered. And you know what the best part was? I didn't think about Amanda once. Not during the vows. Not during the first dance. Not even for a second. She was gone. She had no place in my life, no lingering shadow in the back of my mind. I had moved on. Fast forward another year, and I was at the grocery store, picking up a few things for dinner, when I heard a voice behind me. Hey! I turned, and there she was, Amanda, for the first time in years. She looked different, older, a little tired, but the same manipulative gleam was still there in her eyes, buried under a mask of forced politeness. I just stared at her, waiting. She hesitated, shifting awkwardly. I heard you got married. I nodded. Yep. She forced a small smile. That's great. I'm happy for you. I just gave a polite nod. Thanks. She fidgeted with the strap of her purse. I just wanted to say that I'm sorry for everything. I know it doesn't change what happened, but I really am. I stared at her for a moment, taking in her words, and then, with zero hesitation, I said, I don't care. Her face fell. Oh, and that was it. I turned around, grabbed my groceries, and walked away, because I wasn't angry. I wasn't bitter. I was just done. If you enjoyed this story and want to see more dramatic and intriguing tales, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Your support means the world to me and helps bring more exciting content your way. Also, share your thoughts in the comments. What would you do in this situation? See you in the next story.